Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm getting back into review mode, and this is the third vid that I am shooting. And today I want to talk about a little anime that I've been getting into. I'm actually shooting this for a coworker. What's up, Madison? She's been on me to do a review about this and give my critique. So here it goes. I'm going to give you an overview. I'm going to tell you the good points, the bad points, some characters, different references, and then I'm going to tell you whether or not this is worth watching. It is available on Netflix, and the weird part about this is it's out of chronological order. So you'll watch the first season. They have this holy war thing that I guess is not really the second season, and the third season is actually the second season. So it's done kind of weird. But the general gist of the story is that it's based in medieval times, and it's about Mediotis, I believe, and this girl named Elizabeth. Now, this character Elizabeth is the primary female protagonist, and essentially the story is told through her eyes. And there is a war in the kingdoms, and the dude leading this war has essentially betrayed the king. The king has been killed, and these people who were guarding him, referred to only as the seven deadly sins, who wear unique armor and whatnot, that they stand out, they have been blamed for doing this when in fact it was constructed by the king's right hand guy and carried out by a knight that was close to him and essentially close to the seven deadly sins. So that's pretty much a really brief overview. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more running subplots and themes and different things with the characters that overarch into this main narrative and really add depth to the narrative. I talk a lot about character-driven stories, and this is heavily character-driven. The beautiful thing about this anime as a whole is that some episodes take a look at each individual character that belongs to this group of seven deadly sins, and it essentially breaks down what their life is not like. And the funny part about it is the sin that they're labeled with is not really their sin at all, and that doesn't make any sense until you watch the show. It's just what they're perceived as. It's kind of like a persona that is given to someone, after so long. You kind of just build a rep for something, whether or not it's true, your reputation precedes you. And that to me is really the strength of this show. Elizabeth as a character and the narrator comes off as kind of annoying. And to be honest with you, I wasn't going to finish past the first episode because her character was quite grinding on my nerves. And I still view her as the weakest point in the story. So this kind of leads into my pros. The pros is this story does a very good job with switching off between these characters and making you like individual characters. So as a certain sort of breakdown of each one, we have a few, like one or two that I might not have seen yet because I still have to get through the rest of the show. This is only a breakdown of the first season. So, but the main rounding out cast is there's Medius, who's kind of this innkeeper. He owns this weird little inn that's like a giant pig that walks around, and he's got a little pig friend there, and it talks. It's kind of really funny. They have a good back and forth, and he essentially is one of the central characters as well. And he kind of has a shattered past. He carries around this broken sword, which you really won't figure out why until the ending. And he's become part of this group, but really doesn't know much about his backstory, his history, where he comes from. And as he goes through, you kind of start to piece together what he was, where he came from, why he is so powerful. His main ability is that he is able to reflect back any attack or blow delivered by him and reflect it back 20 times stronger at his opponent. It's an interesting skill, and I strongly believe he's got more powers that he will showcase as you go on through the show, which he does near the end of the first season, but we're left in the dark as to how powerful he actually is, but he is the leader of the seven deadly sins. Next is Diana, and she has the ability to grow. I believe her sin is the serpent's sin of envy, and her nature is that she envies anyone close to the captain, essentially, and almost sees herself as the captain's right hand girl. So she tends to get jealous and angry at anyone who gets close to him, which creates conflict between her and the story's narrator, Elizabeth, because Elizabeth starts getting really close to him, and there's some kind of connection that we're only hinted towards what it all means. There is Bane, the Fox, sin of greed. He is by far my favorite character. He is very boisterous and kind of sick in some of the things that he thinks about. It says it's funny. You never really know what he's thinking, where his loyalties or allegiance lies. And he is given the title of the Fox, sin of greed, known as one of the most powerful characters in this universe because essentially he is immortal and cannot be killed, and they go into why. I'm pretty sure there is a way to kill him, but I don't know whether they'll lead into it later. But he's a fun character, and his back and forth with the captain is hilarious because he kind of has a really, he doesn't care kind of an attitude, which then they break down and you find out there is an extraordinary amount of layers to him. There's the king, the grizzle sin of sloth. King portrays himself as like this little kid flying around on a pillow, essentially, and he has a great bit of power, but his actual form is kind of overweight and lazy, and hence the tag of sloth, because sloth is kind of gluttonous and lazy. There's Gunther, the goat's sin of lust. He's a bookworm with pink hair, and he has this big suit of armor, and we essentially find out that the armor is alive, and he has other powers where he can make people see things that aren't really there. I want to say it is their desires, hence the sin tag of lust. It's what people are lusting after, or their perception of it. His ability is quite powerful, but the drawback of his power is that it's a mirage. He doesn't really directly attack a person. He does have attacks that can hurt people physically, but not while he's showing them this mental projection. So that part of it is very interesting. His power is very unique, and I feel like it's a very intricate type of ability. You have Merlin, who is introduced at the very end, and it is a female, and it's the sin of gluttony. This character is the one I know the least about because she comes in at the very end of the show. It's hinted she's very powerful, and of course the tag Merlin, she comes in with Arthur, so it's kind of a direct, gives it that Knight's feel, where she is directing Arthur, and Arthur in this point in the story is a younger version of Arthur. I'm guessing around the time he pulled Excalibur, so he's a young man, and she is sort of his guide and helping him learn his own powers and traits and uniqueness as he helps them fight in this final act. Now, as always, you can't have a good story without some unique villains. So, there are a few unique villains, and before I get to them, one more you should know. Hawk, the pig that I was telling you about that talks to Meteoris, is his like little companion. Hawk doesn't have any powers, but Hawk is very interesting because it doesn't really need any powers. He's kind of, you know, it's kind of spunky. I think it's a female pig. Cute. Liked it. So let's go to the protagonist. You have the Holy Knights. The Holy Knights are this order of protectors. They protect the kingdom, and there's been dissension in the ranks because the Holy Knights have been infiltrated by these traitors, and they're essentially harnessing these evil demonic presence to enhance their own abilities. Holy Knights are like up here. They have sort of mythical powers, and the seven deadly sins were originally the top of the Holy Knight chain until they were hunted down by the Holy Knights themselves. And these Holy Knights are led by Zazareth. Um, he he led them, and then he was assassinated. So then, let me see. Griffin Thunder, he generates lightning, and he learned under Mediotis, and he is signaled as one of the powerful of this Holy Knight group, and his abilities are cool. I always like the characters with lightning effects and things like that. So he was a very interesting character to watch, and they're the dynamic there. He starts off as a bad guy, and then kind of as you go through, you find out his reasonings, and he becomes a pseudo good guy. He's a man of principle, and when he finds out what's going on and he pieces this big betrayal, he takes the side of the seven deadly sins and essentially tries to help them out. You have, let me see, you have Gila, who is kind of like a really devoted member of the Holy Knights. And she is interesting because she is a bodyguard, but she is very dedicated, has principles, and when this betrayal goes down and no one knows what's going on, she is loyal to the people she's loyal with, and she's trying to figure out what exactly is going on. Now, you have this dude named Dreyfus. Dreyfus is interesting because Dreyfus is driving some of these things, these plots and things, and Dreyfus is a particularly weird character. He is not bad, but he's not good, and some of the reasons that he has for doing what he does makes sense. And once again, you have to see the show. This is not a spoiler. You have Henderson. He is a really, really, really cool character. He is the main protagonist. His power isn't revealed till the end. I don't want to tell it in fear of spoilers, but let's just say he is the overarching villain of the story for the first season. Very well done. And when you find out what his motivations and his goals are, they kind of make sense. And then they kind of don't. It falls in the realm of a Thanos doing horrendous things, essentially for the good of everyone. So, I mean, and this is a very short list to break down because I don't want to get into everything, all of the different intricate plots between these characters, and and all of that. I feel like that adds to you watching it and going through the adventure yourself. and experiencing all of the plot twists and the connections as you go through this. This show can be hard to get into on the first episode alone, or maybe even the second episode. But if you invest your time, it really does pay off. And this leads into my cons. Elizabeth didn't do it for me. The person who wanted me to watch this claims this character has depth, and I see a little bit of it towards the end of the first season. I'm going to go into the Holy Night War and then go into the third season. And apparently, there's a lot of character development. But all in all, if you can get past her initial whininess and see her arc, she's not really a bad character. Just doesn't do it for me per se as far as female who are driving a story. I feel like I connected more with the supporting cast and Midiotis and his sort of struggle was what kept me engaged. The other problem that I have is that for anyone who doesn't know the lore, the myth behind like King Arthur and all of that, it will take a time to adjust. Some of the zaniness that's in it, I appreciate it, but I know some people that are anime watchers, it really goes towards a certain type of group, whereas some animes can hit a general audience with its themes. Certain ones take you time to settle in. This is one of those where you really have to settle into it, and then once it hits its beat, it does it phenomenally. My overall view of this anime as a whole is that it's intriguing and that I've gotten a taste of what this world surrounds. There's a lot of world building, there's a lot of character development. Each character is rich and detailed and is more than is physically portrayed when you first meet them. Every character, and I think this is a credit to all these involved in this project, feels like they have more and more and more depth. And the deeper you go into the show, the deeper of depth you get from the characters, which I always appreciate as a reviewer. I hate one-dimensional characters, and I think these characters have so many layers, and that even if you go through this show, you have to keep on watching every season to reveal a new layer upon layer. Even Elizabeth, who to me is the flattest of the characters, still has good emotional range to keep you engaged, and the end really pulled me towards her side and her struggle. There was a full character arc, and she isn't just this girl power. She's very vulnerable. She's very nice and kind, and she's got these traits that make her naive and relatable because she has a very naive lens on when she first starts, and the journey affects her perception of not only her quest but the people around her, these people that are portrayed a certain way. And as she gets to know them and befriend them, she starts to see that the world itself is wrong, the world itself is corrupted, and her and her friends have to change it. They need the people to see what has infested this world that they live in. And I really like that. I think actually it speaks to a lot of common things that have been happening in normal society, and I think it's beautifully written and done. This is a very good show, and it is very good at what it sets out to do. I think it touches certain nerves, it touches certain things, and it really showcases that there's a lot of creative thought behind this show and this manga. There's a lot of creative narratives and stories and a lot of different places that they can go. I would definitely say give the first season a shot. You'll know a couple of episodes in whether or not this is for you. I personally found it for me. I will be bringing another review on the sub little maybe season 3, I think, because it's out of order on Netflix, and I'm gonna keep reviewing each one and let you know what I think of each individual season. But yeah, this was a great show, and I'm glad that this person recommended it for me. So once again, shout out to you. If you're watching this, hail the sun. She wanted me to say it. I don't know what it means. I haven't gotten further enough to understand the tagline, but I'll let you know in another review exactly what that all means. But yeah, this is my little kind of introduction to the show. Maybe I'll do an in-depth one where I pull apart the plots and the subplots and what I feel about each individual story and kind of let you know where it leads in the future. But for right now, this is an overview. I needed to get a review knocked out, and I figured I'd finish this one before I go into work, and she kills me for not touching on this anime, which I give her credit. She recommended for me to watch. And as an anime fan, I appreciate a good view and a good, well-written anime. So thanks to her for contributing to my channel. And I appreciate all of you. And if you like this review, hit the subscribe button. I have a new layout. This will be posted under animes. If you just want a shortcut there, you can see a list of videos. Hit the like or subscribe button. And thank you, everyone. 67 subs. I really appreciate it. The channel is growing steadily each and every day. I'm hoping to break into the hundreds eventually. So that's all I got for you right now. Thank you very much. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. Please tell other friends about this. Let them know I just don't do movies. I also do anime. I do news. I do rants. I do regular movies. And I do television shows. I will be doing a breakdown of The Walking Dead. I'm kind of 2 episodes behind, so I'll be giving you them both simultaneously and letting you know how the show is going. Great season so far, and tonight's episode is going to be the battle between Beta and Daryl. I've been looking forward to this. It's been teased a lot, so I'll let you know if it lives up to its hype. Anyways, as always, this is your friendly neighborhood reviewer, and me and Goose the Cat will see you